So you or someone you know has a brand new Windows 11 computer. Rather than letting it work the way Microsoft wants it to, with all that tracking and ads turned on, this is the way I set up new computers so they work as fast as possible with as little tracking and ads as I can. So when you're first turn the computer on for the very first time, this is a completely clean computer. The first question you get asked is what country you're in. So me being in Australia, I'm going to go down here and choose Australia from the list. And once I've done that, I'm clicking on the Yes button. After that, it asks you about what keyboard you use. Again, being in Australia, I'm going to choose the US keyboard and click on the Yes button once again. And I'm going to skip the option to add any more keyboards, just the one keyboard's all I need. At this stage, if your computer is plugged into your network, it just needs to click on the Next button. Otherwise, click on the Wi-Fi network you have in your house, type in the password, and then click on the Next button. And then again, click on the other Next button. When it finally comes up, it then starts the process of downloading all the numerous updates. Get ready for this and get used to it. You'll be seeing quite a fair bit with your Windows 11 experience. When it finally restarts, we need to accept the terms and conditions, otherwise we can't use the computer, so click on the Accept button, no reason to read them. In all honesty, type in a name for your computer, that way in the future you'll know which computer you've been working on, and click on the Next button. After a quick restart, it then gives you the ad for all the benefits of signing in with a Microsoft account. I do not recommend this at all, as it means that Microsoft can then track you personally with this computer, but unfortunately we have no option but to click on that sign in button. So once you've read all the fun and games of what Microsoft can offer you, click on the sign in button. You'll then be asked to put in an email address. Just put in a@a.com and click on that next button down the bottom there. You'll then be asked for the password for this account. Doesn't matter what you type in, doesn't matter one little bit, type in as much as you want or as little as you want and click on that Next button. And then it says there's a problem, click on the Next button again and type in your actual name for a change and click on that Next button once again. It'll ask you to put a password in. Again, I don't bother at this stage, it'll ask too many questions afterwards, so we can skip that and click on that Next button again. And we then get the option to let Microsoft track everything we do with this computer and everywhere we go. So I'm going to turn off every one of these options. I do not want a single one of these options selected as being a yes, so take my time and undo all of these. If you want to have a look at what they can do, you can, but in all honesty, just go through, turn each and every one of these things off. Once you've done that, click on that Accept button down the bottom. And then it asks you to register your computer with your manufacturer. In this case, it's Lenovo. I'm not going to bother. Click on that Skip button. And then the process begins to actually set the computer up. It again says it's checking for updates. Not really much going on with updates for that one. Once a quick restart happens, if required for your computer, it actually finishes the setting up of Windows 11. This again can take some time depending on how fast your computer is as to how long this update and installation and setup takes. When it's finally all good to go, it greets you with the Windows 11 experience and the start menu. First thing I'm going to do is click in that search bar and type in Control. So I want to try and go to the Control panel to start the process of turning off all the features Microsoft likes to have turned on. So click on in the search, type in Control, and then click on that Open button down there for Control Panel. When Control Panel opens up, it's very hard to find what you're after in here with this new look Control Panel, and I always get there and choose the View By, or it's got Category, and change that to Large Icons. That way it's easy to see what you're after. Once you've done that, we can then go click on the Power Options section, so we can then go to the next step. Luckily, it's all alphabetical order, so you can find what you're after there nice and easily. Once you're in Power Options, on the left-hand side, we want to click on the Choose What the Power button does, or if you've got a laptop, you can choose what closing the lid does. I then want to change what the power buttons do. I don't want to go to sleep. When I push the power button, I want the computer to shut down properly. So I'm going to choose that option from that little drop-down menu for on the battery and also when it's plugged in. Next thing I want to change is when I close the lid, I don't want it to go to sleep. I want it to hibernate. It saves your battery and also causes less issues in terms of the computer's performance. So make sure you choose that option to hibernate when you close the lid. Next thing I want to turn off is that fast startup option. Unfortunately, I can't do it yet, so I've got to click on the change settings that are currently unavailable up the top. Once I've clicked on that, I can then turn off that fast startup option, which again causes more grief than it's worth. In theory, speeds your computer up, but I've found in my time it slows it down more. Click on the Save Changes, and you can close Control Panel. Right click somewhere on the screen and go to Personalize, and then I'm going to scroll down to go to the Themes section straight away. Once you've found Themes and you click on it, I then have to scroll down again to find what I'm after, to go to the Desktop Icons Settings section, so I can make sure that I can see certain things. Here I want to click in the box for Computer and Users files, so that way I can easily get to those two things which are highly important, and click on the OK button once I've clicked on those. When that's finished, I can then close the settings. I don't need that for the time being. Then I open up Microsoft Edge and I untick the option to stay up to date. And I also do not want to start without any data, so click on the option to start without your data. I'm then also going to not allow it to have access to recent browser data and continue, and I don't want to sign in with Google either, so continue without that data as well. I also want to untick the box to make Microsoft Experience more useful, and I then confirm and start browsing. I love the fact they like to track what you're doing. Once you're into Edge, click on the three dots top right hand corner and go down to Settings. Once you're in Settings, you ought to go to the System and Performance section, where we can try and actually increase the performance of the computer by turning off features that Microsoft has turned on. You'll see Startup Boost. We want to turn that off. We want to turn off the option for running things in the background, and we also want to turn off the option for hardware acceleration, because why not make things work a bit easier for yourself. I then want to open the computer's proxy settings, and I want to turn the feature off for it to automatically detect settings, because I'd rather have the computer work directly to the internet rather than the possibility of a program on there causing it some grief. So we turn that feature off, close those windows. We are finished with Microsoft Edge. Now I click on the Start button again, and I want to go this time to the Settings programs. I want to turn on and get going with the updates straight away. So I'm going to check for Windows updates, so that way while I'm doing the next lot of bits and pieces, it can be checking for updates. When I started doing that, I go to the left-hand side to the Apps section, and I tell it to look at the installed apps, and I'm now going to clean up what's not required at this stage. If you don't know what's not required or what is required, be careful. Things I don't want, I click on the three little dots and I go to Uninstall and take off all the apps I do not want. Once I finally finish doing all those, takes a bit of time. Again, I click on the Windows Start button and you'll see much cleaner now. I go to the power option and restart the computer. That way any updates that are having to be done can go off and be done while it's halfway through the process of getting it all cleaned up and working the way it's meant to. In case you haven't realised, with these updates, it gets to 30% and then it restarts the computer and then finishes off the last 70% of the update. So never be too amazed when it sort of stops there and then jumps suddenly when you restart the computer. That is completely normal. I've sped up this quite a fair bit. These updates do take quite some time. Even on a fast computer and a fast connection to the internet, they are very, very slow. Still not finished yet. We're still going to change the way Windows looks and works. So we're going to right click on the bottom bar there and go to the taskbar settings. I'm going to change the search box to hide it. I don't want to see that there. I'm also going to turn off the task view, widgets, and the chat. I don't want any of those things clogging up things. I then scroll right down the bottom to go to taskbar behaviors. And I want to change the alignment from center to left. Hey, I'm old fashioned, what can I say? I like to have it over on the left hand side. Once that's done, I go to time and language and just go to the date and time section just to make sure that the time and date is set correctly. Because quite often you get a new computer, it's got the wrong time zone. So just make sure your time zone is set correctly there, and you can also turn on the set time automatically, and it will then do that through the internet, and then go back to the time and language and choose the language and region section. From here, I'm going to click on the three little dots next to the English Australia option, go to the language options, and tell it to download the language pack. Even though it knows I'm in Australia, it doesn't realise I want to use the English language, so I've got to download it. If you get a little pop-up like this one for OneDrive, click on the three little dots there and tell it to turn off all notifications for OneDrive. It's a waste of time, and it's Microsoft, again, trying to get money out of you. When it finally installs the package for the language, back to the language and region section, and I'm going to now move the English Australia language up to the top, and I'm now going to remove the US English. That way we have the actual proper way of spelling things for us here in Australia. Once I've done that, I'm going to choose to display the language rather than the English US version. I want to choose the English Australian version. So that way it's going to display things the way I want it to do. It does want you to sign out. I'm not going to bother at this stage. I'm going to do that later on. So just close the settings program once again. Right click on the bottom bar and go to Task Manager. And you'll notice here this little click section there, that's the startup programs. I don't want certain things to start up with the computer. So things like Cortana, Teams, Edge, OneDrive, all those things should be disabled. You don't want those things turning on with the computer. If you want to use them, you can, but in all honesty, they can start up things and slow things down. So turn all of those off, and then when you finish turning those off, we can close that. Click on the start button again, and I'm going to restart the computer. That way those changes can take effect, and we can then move on to making the thing look more like what people are used to, including myself, and also make it work that little bit faster. But first, if you have two drives in your computer, like this one does, I want to make sure that all of my data goes onto that second drive. Now I noticed it was drive E, so I'm going to right click onto my desktop folder here inside the users folder, and I'm going to go to properties and then location and change that letter C to letter E. I'm then going to click on the OK button and say a couple of times, yes, I do want to create the folder, and yes, I do realise I'm going to move all the folders across to that new location on that other hard drive. Do the same thing for downloads, desktop, documents, music, and videos and pictures. That way all those are using that data drive that's in the computer. That way you're not going to take up the space on your main drive, which could cause you grief and could cause issues in terms of performance and reliability. Once I've done that, I'm then going to go back to Edge. I'm going to download Openshell. I'll put the link in the description here. And I'm going to download this from their website and get ready to run that. That's going to make Windows Start button and Start menu look more like what you're used to. So follow the links there to download. I'll put a link to that again in the description. Then I'm going to go to get the Winaero program, the Winaero tweaker, which again will turn off features. Let me change a few settings here and there to make the computer work a little bit faster than what it does, and also turn off some more features Microsoft likes to give us. Again, download link in the description. Once it's downloaded, I'm going to run the Openshell program to make the start menu look the way I want to. I want to agree to all the bits and pieces. I want to turn off the classic Explorer. I don't want to change the way Explorer looks now. I'm used to it. It's fine. Agree to all these bits and pieces that pop up, and then when you're finished, click on the Finish button. And the first thing you do, straight away onto the Windows Start button and choose which look looks better for you. I choose the Windows 7 look, but you can have whatever you want to. And as you can see, it looks more like Windows 7 once again, as opposed to the Windows 11 start menu that I first had to deal with. Then it's the Winaero tweaker program I want to run, so I'm going to just run it out of the zip file that it comes in and agree to those things starting up and just go through the installation process. That way I can get it working and tweak some more bits and pieces. I turn off the option to see the latest news about it. I honestly don't want to, I just want to run the program. So I agree to run the program. And I'm going to go through quickly the settings I want to do, but I'll put these in the description as well. I want to turn on the classic full context menu as opposed to the basic ones that you get. I want to turn off all background apps at once rather than let Windows run things in the background. I want to turn on the startup sound, purely because in fact I like that sound to be there to remind me of things. I'm going to turn off all the ads. Again, Microsoft makes it hard to turn these things off. I want to turn on the automatic registry backup. That way, if I've got to recover a computer from an issue, I've got the registry backups part of the computer rather than have to go hunting for them. I'm going to scroll down and I want to turn on the Windows installer in safe mode in case I've got to do things with a computer that's got a problem. They give you the lovely pictures when you sign in. Let's unblur them rather than seeing them all blurred. You can see them in crystal clear. They're not too bad, those pictures. Scrolling all the way down towards the bottom, there's a whole lot of settings you can change here. I'm going to ignore all those because I don't want to change those for most computers. Still going down to further, I want to disable the automatic updates to store apps. I want to disable Cortana. I also want to disable the Windows Ink workspace and disable all telemetry and data collection. One more thing, I want to activate the Windows Photo Viewer from Windows 7. Why? I just think it looks better and works faster than the one built into Windows 11, and I'll activate that fully in the future. Then I just want to I'm going to run the restart myself later, close all the bits and pieces, and then I run the restart of the computer. That way those changes can all take effect. So this next restart's pretty quick, and we have most of the settings and extra programs not needed either uninstalled or turned off on this brand new computer. This process itself can take quite some time overall, and there are a few things I've not done with this computer, as I'm used to some people liking things done a little bit differently on their computers. You can now copy the files from an old computer at this stage and change that desktop background to match the old computer's one, just to make it feel more like home, if you will. I'll explain in other videos the reasons for the settings that I've used, but at this stage I'll finish this for now. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe. I'll put the links in the description to all the programs I've used. Until next time, bye for now.